Hi, friends. In the spirit of recording, unprepared or otherwise, I really admire these people that blog or vlog daily. It's just not. It's hard for me with complex PTSD and whatever else. And somebody remarked in, I think it was the Through the Black interview I did, that I had sad eyes. Well, you might too. You might too. I'm still kind of sad. Um, Huge funeral where I live in the last couple of days. Paddy, 50, 51 maybe, died of a heart attack. And so that, I remember being in America and saying, I'm so homesick, I wish I was at home even for a funeral. And the Irish do funerals really well. So I went to the wake and I watched the departure to the Catholic Church, and it's just a bit sad. And then the other thing is possibly a remaining sin is like Mercury's in retrograde, and I just find that I'm tying up loose ends and little things that have been outstanding for a long time are starting to be resolved, and that's great. But I don't have a huge energy level. What I wanted to share, a few things. Let's call this a July update. There's so much going on, and I'm trying not to live my entire life online. I think that was something I shared from my 3 months offline, is that I want to spend, at least 30% of my life offline with real life people. But there is so much going on. So just briefly, the main reason I'm coming online here is about Carl Beech, and one of the main whistleblowers on the UK VIP paedophile ring, Westminster paedophile ring, Elm Guest House, Harvey Proctor, Leon Britton, Lord Bramall, Ted Heath, so on. I'm going to share, I couldn't have said it much better than True News, TRU News. Now, I don't know, I'm only new to that channel. I asked if they were a 501c3 charity status Christian ministry, and that part of my comment didn't show up. I'm wary. I've been there, done that, got the t-shirt. I'm wary of Christian websites or ministries like Kenneth Copeland or Peter Gammons or, so many of them, God TV, and, so many of them that are surrounding the President of the United States, because I've been burned and I've done my research. But I don't know True News, but I know the sound of truth. And this is something I keep saying is my lane. I believe with a goodly amount of evidence that I was groomed and tortured and created as an MK Ultra super spy in the old fashioned way, trauma-based mind control from the 50s, connected to the military. So, I'm an abuse survivor. And so, there are certain abilities which confound Ricky Dearman and Karen Irving and so on and so forth. They accuse me of black magic and, accuse me of being one of them and so on and so forth. But it's undeniable that I have abilities to gather truth and discern truth. And when I first listened to the testimonies of Nick, aka Carl Beech, I could hear truth. The same way with Gabriel and Lisa of the Hampstead case, I could hear truth. I've been very scrupulous about raising red flags about issues around, what's going on, all the background stuff. But the thing I'm trying to get back to is the purest thing is hear the truth. Same as Joy Gallagher, Angela Ray, just different people. You hear people talking. I hope you can too as you listen to this. You hear people talking and you discern truth. So, I didn't mean to do that. So, yeah, just let me do. I've got a heavy heart. I've got sad eyes. Farewell Paddy, farewell Dominic, Dom. There's been more deaths in my life, in my circle, of real life people that I know in the last year than I think I've experienced. You know, and I'm too young to start saying everybody's dying around me. These are all people younger than me. Even where I live, which was brand new when I moved in, there's been 5 people just in my immediate neighbors died younger than me. You know, so, you know, and then my best friend, one of my best friends in California, a daughter of my other best friend in California, my best friend in Suffolk. You know, it's just, so I have sad eyes, that's okay. So July update, I want to do, you know, there's some backlash coming already about the video I did with Tom Dunn of Through the Black, because we featured Gabriel and Lisa with their testimonies, because that's what I keep trying to get people to go back to the original testimony and discern for yourself, and then demand that your taxpayer salaried police and judges and, you know, judiciary and so on do a proper investigation, which they didn't, you know. So I want to do an interview with Christine Sands. I suspect Christine, like myself, is an MK Ultra survivor. I don't know that for a fact, but you know, I have good reason to believe that. But I know I heard truth in the woman. One of the most inspiring things she did was tour the Hellfire Caves in West Wickham, the ancestral Sir Francis Dashwood home of Emily Napper, who's local to me, like 15 minutes away. She's been the landlady of my niece. She's been the employer of one of my sons. She's, you know, we go to the same hairdresser, you know, blah, blah, blah. And I've uncovered some uncomfortable stuff. So the Hellfire Clubs. So I think it was Dave Eden did the best long form edited video of Christian Sands taking back the land of West Wickham Hellfire Caves for Jesus. And the only fear I have, and I'm, you know, I don't want to be fearful, but I do have the possibility of a trial hanging over my head at the hands of Ricky Dearman. You know, and if we look at history, that doesn't look good, but I'm not looking at history, I'm looking at God. Whose report are you going to believe? But Christine is so brave. You know, she was imprisoned over the Hampstead case, even though I think primarily she was in London over Julian Assange. You know, she was ordered out of the country. I don't think it would be quite called deported, but she was pretty much told, you better be on that flight, and here's your £125 fine for vexing a clergyman, aka Father Paul of Hampstead Christchurch, heavily alleged, accused by Gabriel and Lisa in their disclosure testimonies. So I'm trying to just, so Christine from America, and very well connected to Anonymous, she's brave, and she's got websites like londoncannibals.com, you know, hampsteadchristchurch.com, you know. She's very, very brave, and I want to be that brave, because it's inevitable if the Irish government has become as corrupt as the cabal, you know, globally, UK, New Zealand, Australia, Canada, you know, parts of the US, they're going to imprison me anyway. So I don't want to sit in a cell and say, I wish I told the truth. And I wish I had been brave enough to feature more of the children's testimonies. And I wish I had been brave enough to talk to Christine. I don't agree with anybody about everything. Otherwise, we'd be clones. I don't agree with Christine about everything. I don't agree with Andy Devine about everything. I don't agree with John Patterson about everything. You know, we are all unique, but there are people I have common ground with, and I have an ear for the sound of truth. So with regard to Carl Beech, I heard the resonance of truth in his disclosures. I've been to Dolphin Square when I was an unaware MK Ultra asset working for BCCI, you know, given a £225,000 budget, you know, when I was 19 in London in the late 70s, just here's nearly £250,000. Why don't you go and rent 10 apartments for us to sublet as a merchant bank for our clients, you know? And a couple of the apartments I looked at were in Dolphin Square, and I didn't like it. you know, thank God for the Holy Spirit. Thank God for intuition. Even back then in the late 70s, newly, you know, was I born again back then? No, not yet. No, not yet. Catholic, you know, loving God, but not, I wouldn't say filled with the Spirit. But I still didn't like Dolphin Square, and I just pulled back from there. But, you know, so much corroborative evidence is falling into place. So where was that chain of thought go? Anyway, so let me schedule with Christine and talk to her about, you know, and this I'm finding, I know about cognitive dissonance because 10 years ago or more, 2 American survivors of high-level MKUltra SRA abuse contacted me. And their testimony was so out there, and I was so still, you know, asleep and programmed to be asleep and drug amnesiac and so on, that I couldn't digest it. So I had 9 years of evidence from one survivor living in Texas, upon whom at least 2 movies were based, and testifying about Papa Bush and Saudi royals and so much more. And another one testifying again about Bohemian Grove and Old Man Bush and so on. And my brain just couldn't receive it at that time because it was triggering me, you know. So similarly, Nilu and Christine Ann Sands, they talk about, and Christine has recordings of wailing and screaming from the basement of Hampstead Christchurch, very similar to the recordings made of Comet Ping Pong, you know, and the recording of allegedly John Podesta torturing a child, you know, and these recordings are there, but even my brain as a, you know, a survivor and somebody in pursuit of truth and filled with the Holy Spirit, my brain goes, that can't be, that's too horrific, that cannot be. But here we are, and I'm thinking, it can, and it probably is. I'm currently listening to a recording by Terry Joyce from April last year, 2018, and all these so-called conspiracy truth tellers are being proven right, you know, and it gives me no joy to say that. You know, vindication is a nice thing, but it's devastating that we were speaking. I'll share that in a future blog, you know, at least clips of what Terry is saying more than a year ago, which turns out to be absolutely spot on, you know, as is much of my own intel and so many others. So look, I heard the ring of truth in Carl Beech's testimony. I heard the ring of truth in Gabriel and Lisa's testimony. I've met many survivors, including of Leon Britton, Harvey Proctor. I believe I myself am a survivor of Lord Bramall, as is Esther Baker, allegedly, as is testified in the Australian 60 Minutes documentary. I never get the name of this right, but it's something like Lords, Spies and Paedophiles, something like that. I'll share the link below. But primarily, I'm going to share the link of True News, even though I don't agree with everything they say. That's not the issue. I think the reason God gave me that scripture, we have this treasure in earthen vessels, stop judging the narrators and start hearing truth and act on that. You know, stop judging and evaluating, criticizing and investigating. And well, investigate me all you want. I'm an open book, you know, or anybody, you know, but the truth is, hear the kernels of what's going on, and then pray and do what you can. There's so much more I could talk about, you know. There's so much more. Gemma O'Doherty, Google, activate, no, be quiet, you will cancel that. Right. We're going to share. And then we're going to, I just want to go to the True News. Hampstead reveal. Now that's the Terry Joyce video I'm watching at the moment. Angela Power Disney, Hampstead reveal, plus FOJ rant. No, that's good. She's really good there. So here's what I want to share with you regarding the Carl Beech. Carl Beech, like Stephen George, the child of a UK elite, who says, my father didn't just abuse me, he pimped me out to other elites, and this is what happened, you know. And I'm very touched by Steve, and I get hard to call you that, I'm sorry, I do. Stephen George was a little girl adopted by a UK Conservative MP, and she would not conform or comply, even despite drugging, to the sexual abuse from him and from his friends. And she was therefore institutionalized for 28 years, shut away in Broadmoor and other places for Jimmy Savile to abuse. And part of her healing journey was she became transgender and is now known as Stephen George. I don't judge her for that. She doesn't mind whether I call her or not. In fact, she included me in a dedication in a book, and we have mutual respect for surviving and telling the truth. But I was interested to hear her say that part of Carl Beech's testimony included her story, which would indicate that he lifted parts of people's testimonies, which Max Spears was also accused of. But the truth is, stop expecting survivors to be, you know, perfectly healed, perfectly healthy, perfectly lucid, perfectly able to tell you what happened to us. Just, you know, empower your authorities to be honest and discern truth for yourself. I can't start this other video without telling you, please pay attention to the malicious mental health sectioning of John Wanoa, W-A-N-O-A, in New Zealand. Himself and John Patterson were arrested simultaneously, one in London, one in New Zealand, and sectioned against their will, without consent and without good grounds, probably at the instigation of Hampstead, which Ricky Dearman just admitted in public that he co-runs with Karen Irving. He put it on Twitter, he put it in a YouTube comment, and that's there for people to see on Spidercat web blog or on my Facebook. But yeah, let me just go to, I lost that chain of thought as well. Like I said, I'm sad. There's a lot of death going on. And I don't need that. And that I'm watching. We don't need mail. Dictation. Yes, here's the one. I'm going to play this for you now. And it's about 18 minutes. And I encourage you guys, listen to this. This is covered. Yeah, so Stephen George said, so it's possible. Max Spears may have assimilated parts of other people's testimonies. Many people might have. I don't know. But I heard truth in Carl Beech's testimony, and I can corroborate some of it. And 17 plus credible witnesses came forward against Sir Edward Heath, you know, which was admitted and broadcast by Wiltshire Police. You know, Leon Britton, multiple victims came forward. Greville Janner, multiple victims came forward. Police corroborated, they were told, back off. You know, so let's just play this and let this stand alone. But please, Vinnie Eastwood, anybody else with a platform in New Zealand, you know, the New Zealand health minister, whoever, we need to get John Wanoa out, and we need to stop this mental health fraud carry on, which is if you're a truth teller and they can't get you in the courts, they'll get you with a mental health assessment, stick a label on you, and discredit you. No, it's not happening. So I'll play this, and I'll leave it at that for now.
Godfather was extradited from Mexico to Israel.
Well, there you go. There's got to be something there.
And then weeks ago, an Israeli DJ was murdered in Mexico City. So there's a lot of decades ago have been.
All right, here we go.
Now, Daily Beast reporting today, Jeffrey Epstein visited Clinton White House multiple times in the early 90s.
Why would that shock anyone?
Well, you know, the paper trail's there.
Right.
And just what he said about the internet, you can now go back and look at records that have been digitized.
Look what NBC did. They went back to their vault and found these tapes.
Decades ago have been digitized. Lynn Forrester de Rothschild.
Oh, yes.
Sorry, guys, I'm just finding the exact
She wrote a personal letter to Clinton thanking him at Palm Beach at the home of Revlon.
The Epstein thing is connected.
Sure, they hung out on a yacht a time or two.
Well, did he hang out?
This is a global cabal
on the island.
You know what? With this island, all these reporters going over there now, all these special. Where were you for the last 20 years?
Indeed.
And then they'll
papers. When you see something in one paper and then you go to another paper in the same city, same country, and you see almost an identical article.
All right, let's get here.
It's a joke.
It is.
All right, here we go, people. Carl Beech being covered on American television.
Other story I saw today. Listen, I've noticed a trend this week in the London papers. When you see something in one paper and then you go to another paper in the same city, same country, and you see almost an identical article, and then you see a third one, you know the propaganda machine is working.
Just blanket the news media.
So what are they doing in Great Britain this week? They are telling the public all these pedophile investigations are nonsense. Don't believe anything. And the people that are spreading these rumors should be locked up.
Right. And when you see it in maybe one paper, you kind of, okay, well, we'll kind of weigh that a little bit. But you see it in the Telegraph, you see it in the Guardian, you see it in the Sun, and you see the same story being echoed. You know where it's coming from.
That's right. So years ago, there was an explosion of lurid accusations in Great Britain about a nationwide pedophile network involving the highest people, former prime ministers, members of MI5 and
family,
the royal family, and BBC. Yes, so Jimmy Savile was one of them. Just a pervert, a sick, demented, wicked, evil pervert. There were stories that he practiced satanic rituals, blood sacrifices of children.
Having sex with dead children.
Yes. Having sex with dead children. It was so sick.
There's a documentary made about this that I've seen where they would take the children to a boat, and that meant that was it for that child because he wasn't coming back from the boat.
International waters.
Yeah.
So he worked for BBC. He was one of Great Britain's famous comedians.
A presenter. Yeah.
And a presenter, worked for the BBC for decades.
Knighted.
Yes, he was knighted. They all knew he was a pedophile.
Yeah, and you're right. They did know this. This was a known thing between producers, people who were involved.
The police knew. Going back, I found the first police record of an investigation of Jimmy Savile was 1955.
Right?
Yeah, it went back decades. So there was genuine pedophiles within entertainment, within the government of the UK. But what's happening right now is that they've questioned now the testimony and the evidence presented by one Carl Beech. Now he had explained that this was a giant network, a giant ring of hundreds of people that were involved. His testimony now is being knocked out and being knocked down, and they've pinned child pornography charges on him. And so now what's happened is it appears that the British press is trying to whitewash all these accusations of pedophilia that popped up, especially within the past several years, because of this one person's testimony.
Yeah, at the time that the accusations were coming out, he was the informer that they couldn't identify. His nickname was Nick.
Yes.
So when you read articles, it would just say Nick said. Then later we found out his name was Carl Beech. So he said that there was a Westminster VIP pedophile network that included former Prime Minister Edward Heath, who historians admit was gay.
Mm-hmm.
He was also most likely a Soviet spy.
Right.
And his record was not good. Mr. Beech, Carl Beech, known as Nick, he also...
Just on the Edward Heath thing, there's another whistleblower survivor called Michael Gowland, Gowland, and he testified. He also testified about being hunted, which I've testified to, and believe Lord Bramwell to have been included in that hunting party, human hunting party. And Michael Gowland testified, and we found ourselves moved around 3 times between different police forces. I originally complained to the Wiltshire police force, which would have covered Ted Heath. And then I was moved to the Avon and Somerset force. No, first of all, I complained to the Metropolitan. They moved me to Wiltshire, and Wiltshire got taken over by Somerset. And after 6 months, my investigation was collapsed based on the fact that a primary accused, being my father, has a dementia diagnosis and therefore can't be questioned. They didn't say that when they were hunting Nazi criminals, you know. I'm flabbergasted at that. But there was so much credible evidence. Mike Veal, I think now retired, possibly, Chief Constable of Wiltshire Police, who investigated that, said that there were enough credible allegations from different sources corroborating the same evidence that he definitely would have been brought in for questioning, Prime Minister or not. You know, so for these articles in the newspaper to be saying things like, oh, his poor family and those poor families that were being groomed to sympathize with pedophiles. We are being groomed to be faux outraged against truth tellers saying, I was raped.
Oh, he named Lord Britain, the former Home Secretary Harvey Proctor, former Conservative Member of Parliament, Lord Bramwell, former head of the UK Army.
Yes.
Maurice Oldfield, former head of MI6. Michael Hanley, former director of MI5. General Sir Hugh Beech, which was his father.
Yes.
His father was General Sir Hugh Beech and Field Marshal Roland Gibbs. In fact, Mr. Beech, Carl Beech, said that it was his father who began raping him.
Yeah.
And his father then introduced him as a boy to all these other VIPs to be molested.
So Beech makes these accusations and has for several years. He's been consistent in his accusations. He hasn't wavered from his accusations.
Still to this day maintains that everything he said was true, and it provoked a massive Scotland Yard investigation.
But then they found pornography on his computer.
Yes.
Well,
and so that cancels out the accusations?
you start blaming the victim.
What they did, Doc, and this just happened this week, they put Mr. Beech in prison this week for lying.
Right.
They convicted him of lying. He never recanted his accusations.
Still doesn't.
The government said, you're lying.
Well, that's it.
And so he went to prison this week in Great Britain.
Yes.
As a convicted liar for misuse of the justice system, that he made false statements to the police and destroyed the reputations of Great Britain's greatest citizens and brought shame upon them.
How dare he?
And how did they? How were they convinced that he was lying? because he's a pornographer. He's using child pornography. Therefore, you're a liar about all these other things. Now, I'm not defending him for his child pornography or anything, but I'm not convinced that it was his.
Yes. You know, whether it was or not, what happens is that these kids grow up to be adults, and they have been destroyed. Their minds have been destroyed. Their bodies have been ravished, and they become like the animals, like the
turn into what they were afraid of.
What they were. Yes.
Look, what does he have to gain by doing this? To ruin his life? He's just going to get up one day and start naming names at the highest level of British.
Well, that was one of the accusations. They said he took money from newspapers to tell his story.
Lock up the newspapers then too. They're complicit in it.
What I'm trying to get across is this week in Great Britain, they put a pedophile accuser in prison, and they're letting the pedophiles walk free.
Prince Andrew was Epstein's best friend.
That's right. Which is Prince Charles's brother. So what do we see this week in Great Britain? These are the stories I started seeing. The Telegraph, which, by the way, the Telegraph, 10, 15 years ago, we brought it out a couple weeks ago. They published an editorial written by Conrad Black's wife.
Yes.
And Conrad Black, the wealthy publisher who went to prison for cheating his business partners, he was pardoned months ago by Donald Trump.
Yes.
But Conrad Black's wife, years ago, wrote an editorial defending pedophilia.
Right. She said, we're making a big deal about this. Yes. We're just making a big deal about all.
And that was published by the Telegraph. Now, this week, the Telegraph has this editorial. Carl Beech, a.k.a. Nick, found guilty of making up Westminster VIP pedophile ring. That's the actual story, right, on that he's going to jail. Of course, one of the accusations that Mr. Beech said, he was raped by Jimmy Savile. Right? So now
Jimmy Savile.
They are running stories
of
of the
Savile
Guardian. VIP pedophile ring accusers tells his trial he stands by his claim. So he's refusing to back down, even though he's now in prison. So now we see one more.
He's lucky he's alive still.
Here's one more before I get to these other articles. Pedophiles' false allegations about my father makes me sick, says Rabbi Laura Jana Klausner.
Yeah, sure.
Senior rabbi to Reform Judaism, Laura Jana Klauser, says it makes her sick to see her late father subjected to false allegations of sadistic child abuse after his accuser was convicted of lying to the police. So, what's right is wrong, what's wrong is right. What's up is down, everything's backwards, okay? Now, I want to get to hear these editorials. The Telegraph this week, July 23rd. How Tom Watson's championing of Mick sparked a major inquiry into a pedophile ring that didn't exist. Tom Watson was a member of parliament. Right. He's the one who made the accusations, who said, I believe this man. There is a net.
Tom Watson, by the way, did seem to do some good work, but he didn't follow through. And I would suggest he was leaned on.
National pedophile ring operating in our government, in intelligence, in the army, in the BBC, in Westminster, in Buckingham Palace. He said, we've got to expose it. We've got to bring it to justice. He was the member of parliament. He's now been shamed. He's shamed for believing that there was a pedophile network operating in Great Britain.
Of course there is.
And the Telegraph said today that this member of parliament, Tom Watson, championed an investigation into a pedophile ring that didn't exist. Next one from the Telegraph. The VIP pedophile scandal is another disgraceful chapter in British policing. So now they shame the police.
Oh my God.
And the newspaper is saying, shame on the Scotland Yard for believing this liar, for wasting our tax money and investigating a non-existent pedophile ring. Shame on the police. Now, one thing I saw in here Let's see if I can find this. Oh, here's the Times. Carl Beech, pedophile saga shames the police.
Right. Wow.
One of these stories in here, and I don't know if I can find it, but I know what it said. It said none of the police officers who conducted the investigation were reprimanded or sanctioned. In fact, the policemen were given promotions, and most of them have retired on full pensions.
It's the same in Ireland. The Irish police know the truth of paedophile rings and blackmail running right through the Gardaí, up to Garda commissioners, up to government ministers. And I've been told by police that the good cops, the best they can do is take early retirement and beg their children not to follow them into that career.
Yeah, hush money.
Exactly. Because the police officer said, I'm not going to shut my mouth.
Good.
Look,
We know the evidence. We've got the evidence.
If you know the people
Same in
above you
Ireland.
that you're going to have to go after, and you're at that level, what are you going to do?
So they told the cops, you want to retire with your benefits? You want any pension, or do you want to go to jail?
Go to jail.
Yes. Because what did the admiral tell this?
Oh, they told the sailors, you shut your mouth.
Shut your mouth.
You wind up at Leavenworth or worse.
Worse. So that's what was told to these cops. You can guarantee it. These cops are told, shut your mouth. If you shut your mouth, we'll let you retire with full benefits.
But
You
look,
cause trouble, we're going to destroy you.
how far it goes back to the 50s. That was documented on record.
So what are we telling you here? Get ready for the cover-up of Jeffrey Epstein.
Yes. Because
Get ready, it's coming.
Because if they can cover up this in the UK, they can cover everything up with Epstein.
We're,
Right, I'll leave it there, guys. You can watch this for yourself. I've shared it on Facebook, Angela Power Disney or Angie Power Disney. And I've got a group for those that are really serious about this kind of research, mind control, social engineering, and diabolical experiments in the UK and US. There's much more I could say, but like I didn't even think I was going to come and broadcast today. But I heard this being broadcast on True News, and I just wanted to share it. So if I've left anybody out, forgive me. You know, and just keep praying and keep discerning truth, and don't believe what you hear on the mainstream media. They go on to do a really quite heartbreaking analysis of Donald Trump. The guy, I think, I don't remember his name, Ron or something, but he was one of those preachers in the White House shortly after Donald Trump's inauguration, I think. But he's now saying, look, I might have got it wrong. Donald Trump might be compromised too. I don't know. I'm a romantic, I'm an idealist, and I pray that, you know, even if Donald Trump has done some terrible things or had connections with Jeffrey Epstein more than spoken about, I pray that he would repent. They play a very powerful video where Donald Trump was asked, you know, have you asked Jesus to forgive you? And he skirts the issue. I think it was from 2015. But I still pray for Donald Trump. I pray for Leo Varadkar to be replaced, God forgive me, as I prayed for Theresa May. I pray even for Boris Johnson, I get mixed up because of Miles Johnson. I know that Boris Johnson is an ex-Bullingdon boy, and part of their initiation rites, like the Skull and Bones Club, part of the Bullingdon boys' initiation was to burn a £50 note in front of a homeless person. And some say, you know, pigs and Cameron, and I won't go there, but I have said in a previous video where I called it that Boris would win, I said he has a brother Leo with children in school in North London, which merits looking into the Hampstead case. So prayers for everybody concerned, including Sabine McNeill, still locked up. And those, you know, Joe Ducey in Ireland, Angela Ray's free, but I don't know for how long. You know, so many, even in Monaghan, I got a message, would I go and watch somebody's house while they went to court? to make sure that it wasn't snatched off them while they were in court. And the person, I said I couldn't, and the person that went and watched it got a week in jail. You know, so it's time for prayer. So I'll do stop share and just share this, please. Do the thumbs up and do what you can. That's all we can say. Angela Power Disney, angelascashes.org, Angie Power Disney, Chasing Rainbows on Vimeo. I'll put some links up. Please do what you can. And if you can support me, do that too via my website. God bless and thanks.